Good morning, Denise. How are you doing today?
Hi, good morning. I'm doing really well.
Good. I'm glad to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for coming. So, I want to jump off by you kind of giving us a little backstory. First of all, how did you get started in the field of health? Like, was this a thing where you were always knew you wanted to get into the field, or did you kind of get on another path?
So I I'll go back to high school of
Okay.
where I knew I wanted to do something in health, and for the longest time, I feel like you almost get coached of like, oh, if you want to be in health, you have to be a nurse or you have to be a doctor. Those are the two absolutes of health fields that get really pushed and encouraged for people to think about when they think
Mhm.
about health. And it wasn't until I started volunteering a lot in the community, so from Westlake, Texas, that I really found my place with like educational stuff. And so I got really engaged with going like being a part of college readiness programs. And then eventually, once I got into college, I became a mentor and part of different organizations in the Valley, the Rio Grande Valley, that try to promote and encourage students to get excited about fields that maybe they didn't think about. And so health was really one of those. Uh, I think I opened up more about thinking about public health and then community health workers and promotoras, since that's something that CHWs and promotoras are engaged in the Valley. And so it really opened my eyes and understanding of how it's a lot of movers and shakers on the ground and in other settings that isn't just clinical and it has a real value. So I eventually I earned my master's in public health at the School of Texas A&M University, which once I graduated, I started a position, a coordinator program position with the National Community Health Worker Training Center that at the time was directed by Katie Nimmons, who helped mentor me and kind of plugged me in into different CHW initiatives and leadership roles that have really molded my
Mhm.
journey so far. And I'm really excited that I'm still engaged with her and with also the former director of the training center, Julie St. John. um, and yeah, it's a really rewarding field. I think there's I really do like to promote the value of challenging yourself to learn at any age, and I think it feels like what's most authentic to me, like
Mhm.
trying to get people excited about learning and about new things that are coming up. Never learn too much is what I really feel like.
That is an extraordinary journey, first of all. So, for teens or youth that are listening, because in the state of Texas, you can be 16 and become certified community health worker. So there may be teens that are listening right now, and they're like, "Oh man, I feel myself the exact same spot. Everybody want me to be a
Yeah.
doctor, or everybody want me to be a nurse, but I kind of want to connect with people on a more community-based level." So, your like top two tips for them would be volunteer
Mhm.
and what else?
And I would say go with your gut feeling on what's making you happy, what's feeling authentic. Because there's plenty of volunteer opportunities, but I think you can like specify into different initiatives in the community. For some
Hmm.
people, it's about social justice. For others, it's about like cancer initiatives or different types of health topics that really inspire them. I feel like a lot of the times we bring our own experiences, like whatever happened in our life that we want to make a change or see a change in the community, that usually leads to really powerful leaders or really
Hmm.
pulls the creativeness out of us. So I would really encourage that, finding whatever feels authentic to you, and just, I think the possibilities are endless after that if you do
I,
those two things.
I believe that so much because, once you are authentic to yourself and you're true to yourself, your people will find you. And many times I know earlier in my career, that was the journey that I was on. I've talked about this before about being a nurse. I mean, up until literally a few years ago, I applied to nursing schools, and it just wasn't happening. That was not my journey. And the whole thing is that I always wanted to work with the community. Hello. And now I'm actually doing it now, as a community health worker. So sometimes your destiny may not be where you want it to go, and it kind of takes you getting thrown off the horse to find really where you're supposed to really be. So thank you for that, because that's really important for students, for people that are young, even as adults. We may have a different life event that turns us doing something else. So don't be afraid of it. Just keep being authentic. Love that. That is going to be a quote once I put the sound bite down. So you mentioned the Valley. Is that where you're originally from? Or
Yes and no. So I
okay.
tell everybody that I'm from Weslaco, Texas, because I was born there, but my family, we moved to New Jersey because my dad worked in construction. And it wasn't until I think I was like in adolescence, like 14, when we moved back to the Valley because the construction company that he was working for went bankrupt. And so after that, once it was re-entered the Valley when I was a freshman in high school. And so I think doing community service also helped me find friends and like-minded
Mm.
individuals that I could connect with. And I stayed there for my bachelor's, which I earned at the University of Texas Pan American, which is in Edinburgh, also the Valley. And I really, really loved being there because it was kind of like for the first time, I felt like there was a sense of a community that I was embraced, like being first generation American, speaking Spanish. It was things that I felt like I could just kind of let loose and not have to think about, oh, am I felt like in New Jersey, I had a lot of pressure to just speak proper English, not
Hmm.
drop in any Spanish words and just, act a certain way that didn't, I know it's going to sound bad, but didn't attract any attention in a
Hmm.
bad way. So it was really nice to be in the Valley and just embrace some of my heritage and kind of make up for lost time. And I kind of felt really welcomed by the community and have nothing but good things to say about the Valley. And I'm glad that my work lets me go back and give back.
So explain to people that may not know, because the podcast is heard from people everywhere. When you say the Valley, you mean what? What part of Texas are you talking about?
So when I talk about the Valley, I refer to the southmost part of Texas. So usually starting from Brownsville, and a lot of people tend to include up to Laredo. So it's all of the border towns and the border counties that are between Mexico, the Rio Grande Valley, and then Mexico. And it's a really bicultural experience. I feel like you'll go into businesses and the primary language tends to be Spanish
Yes.
or Spanglish.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
So yeah, I wanted to say that I mean, I'm glad you're talking about this, because I actually worked in McAllen, doing traffic safety.
okay.
Yeah, so we did a traffic safety class at one of the hospitals there, and so my first experience in McAllen was like, I need a book because I don't know I don't speak Spanish. And so it was really cool though, because everybody was so warm and they were patient, like when I was not able to really communicate what I was trying to say. And so I loved going down there. It was a long drive. It took us like 9 hours to get there from DFW, but I really enjoyed it. And I also want to say that they are doing some amazing work with the Promotora associations, and community health worker programs in Texas, down in the Valley. So shout out to you guys, that I know y'all do a lot of work in programming, bilingual work, research work with the Promotoras down there. So shout out to you guys and all of the other associations and programs doing the work down there. So why do you think that there is a huge need and push for promotores to be trained down in that area?
So I think when I think of the Valley, I think about how there are a lot of vulnerable communities.
Mhm.
I myself, like we have a home like in a colonia, which is a neighborhood that may or may not be integrated into the bigger city. And so that often means maybe not having appropriate lighting, maybe not having sidewalks, maybe not having sewage systems that connect or having like garbage disposal, like a lot of these commodities that I think now living in College Station, I feel like I take for granted, but whenever I go back, I'm reminded
Mhm.
of how, how disadvantaged it can be being in a community like that. And I also think about um, the populations that are down there that may or may not be here legally, and that because of political reasons, they may not be included in some health initiatives or may not have access to health care. And that's when promotoras go above and beyond and really serve members who may not necessarily be seen by anybody else. And so I really appreciate the promotoras and the CHWs who do work down there, because I know that they go above and beyond, go into communities and neighborhoods that maybe are not, uh, again, engaged in health initiatives, and they really do rely on word of mouth and have built that trust to let them easily go into these communities and engage these members and promote these different initiatives. So it's for many reasons I think they're successful, and I also think that the way Hispanic communities tend to be, it relies a lot on the word of mouth, or you know, once you tell one neighborhood or one friend, you engage a bigger audience. So I think it works really successfully too.
I I concur. I definitely agree. And the more that we're able to have more diverse and inclusive programs, it helps everybody. It helps the entire community. And I know that there was a huge push recently with like the census and everything, and promotoras really being boots on the ground, even with COVID. Having that trusted person in the community to help register people, like you just talked about, there not being resources, and getting the word out to them in a way in which they understand. This is what we're talking about when you have community health workers, promotoras there to help the community. So, where would you say that you would like to see the community health worker field in, say 5 or so years from now, with you being the CHW training manager, and you seeing so much going on with people that are being trained and everything? What do you foresee, or what would you like to see?
I would really, I think it was maybe not, I kind of lost track of time, but maybe it wasn't last year, but the year before, when the age minimum was reduced to being 16 to become a certified CHW. I really would like to see a younger generation of CHWs get inspired and engaged. That would be a really beautiful thing to see. And when I think about diversity, I think about like uh, diversity in age, diversity in races, diversity in languages. The training center, a year ago, we did have our CHW certification course translated into like Mandarin. So we were able to train a small group of CHWs. And so I would like to see more initiatives like that, where it's more languages, more groups, and kind of learning how to incorporate the CHW model in their communities. And again, uh, with that being said, technology could be a great asset. I kind of struggle to log into the meeting, so I understand that there's some cons to it. But there's also some pros. Texas is so big, it's so hard
Yeah.
to physically travel somewhere.
Hmm.
It's so hard to plan trainings that are going to get like a diverse group of people coming in, because then
Hmm.
that requires your participants to travel in. But Zoom, it kind of lets us train anybody who is able to join the meeting. So I think that that's a great way to reduce the barrier of geography. But yeah, in the next 5 years, I hope we have more conversations about inclusivity and diversity in the field. I think it's already starting to happen, and we're gonna see more of a push naturally in the next few years. But that's really what I'm hoping to do with my team, of just encouraging those types of values.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because, as kids get older and they make that transition from high school to college, I feel like the CHW field is one of those professions that you should definitely consider. You can always utilize the skills that you get from the training, communication, interpersonal capacity building, like all of those are transferable skills that you can use in any job. And so, especially within your community, because many students, like you said earlier, okay, a nurse or a doctor or a pharmacist, or, and there's a lot of different barriers to education, college. I mean, we can go down the list, but I think that being a community health worker, it builds trust in the community. And it also helps them learn like the boots on the ground methodology that you have to have when dealing with different types of people. And so kudos to that. I certainly believe that we should have more youth engaged in projects. So I know that you guys at your training center, you do a lot of research projects. So are there any, recent projects that you guys have been working on that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I would really like to mention the action project that we have currently being funded by CPRIT. So it's a cancer funded project that is to promote breast, colorectal, cervical, lung, and liver cancer CEUs. We're going to have those CEUs as self-paced online courses available later this summer in June. And we are going to have an event next month regards to dissemination partners, because we really need the help of CHWs and CHW instructors to help us promote and figure out how to best disseminate these resources in Texas regarding cancer information. And so that is one. And then we also are working on a tobacco cessation project that we will be delivering a series of tobacco cessation CEUs at the end of May. And we're formatting it in a bilingual way, in which the week is set out to offer CEUs, but then we kick off the week with a day where we dedicate it to talking about the materials and kind of just troubleshooting with Zoom. We found that really effective with another project with the National Rural Health Association. We were doing like our 8 CEU, the done training, that diabetes, obesity, nutrition, and exercise. And we found that it was really helpful to have like a designated day or designated time slot to just helping everybody log into Zoom, making sure that we could record their attendance, because that was also a thing. If they logged in and maybe didn't type in their name, then that would be an issue to awarding them their certificate. So a lot of troubleshooting for them, but also for us and our logistics side. So yeah, we're just trying to still do online initiatives. We understand that people are still trying to get the vaccine. Maybe it doesn't seem 100% safe for us or the community to do big in-person training. So we're going to wait, and we're just doing our best doing Zoom and virtual trainings for the moment being. But it's still exciting because we do have people from not just Texas, but also out of state log into our trainings. And it's that's one of the beauties of Zoom is seeing people, reaching people from outside of Texas.
And I don't know if you know this, but I actually took my CHW instructor certification through you guys, through the National CHW Center a few years ago. So that's how I became certified, is through the National Associate or National Community Training, and it was all online. It was all online. And so for people that ask, well, how do you become an instructor and what's the benefits of being an instructor? What would you say to them? What would you say to somebody that might be considering it? and want to take their career to the next level?
All right. So we do have, we still have the CHWI class as a self-paced course. So it's really flexible to fit into your schedule if you're already working or have some ongoing personal commitments. I would say that for those interested in being a certified community health worker instructor, that it really makes sense to do it if your vision is to train other CHWs. If you want to be somebody who is engaged with the teaching and coming up with curriculums and lesson plans, like if that speaks to you, then that is the path you should go. Or if you want to, if what you see yourself doing is supervising or managing CHWs, then that should be the route or the certification you should seek. And you don't have, I really like to tell people that you don't have to just be just a CHW instructor or just a CHW. You can also pursue both certifications, and that you can also do it based on experience. If you are already engaged in, I believe there's an application for CHW certification based on experience. So if you meet those hour requirements and fill those prerequisites, then that should be something you should look into, or take the training to complement your experience in the community. I feel like some people also feel really confident if they already have dabbled in a few hours in the community doing that type of work, and then just kind of want a formal training so that they have an overview, formal training on the 8 core competencies. And I think what really helps is also, my advice would be becoming affiliated with a training center from before you take the certification course. And then there's a lot of CHW associations and organizations that you can become engaged as a member or pursue leadership positions. I think that really gives you a strong standing in the CHW field, especially in Texas, since we really do depend on each other to promote our trainings and to work with each other to kind of see the bigger picture of the CHW field and not be so siloed in just our region. And yeah, I guess become engaged and inform yourselves on the different ways to get certified. And if it fits for you, then I would really recommend pursuing this CHWI certification.
So you mentioned getting involved with different associations and things like that. And I had just put out an article on LinkedIn about 4 different ways to get connected with CHWs, and get connected as a CHW, and getting engaged in associations is one. And I know that you are the treasurer of the Texas Association of Promoters and Community Health Workers, and you also serve as the section counselor for the American Public Health Association CHW section. So can you talk a little bit about your role in that and different things that you learned being engaged at that national and also state level?
Yeah, so I started off as a member in both organizations, and with the Texas Association of Promotores and CHWs, I started off as an interim board member.
Was it called TAPCHW? TAPCHW? Is it?
TAPCHW.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's the acronym.
We have a lot of acronyms in the CHW field.
NASHWA, TAPCHW, yeah, okay.
And I really think Katie Nimmons, the former director of the training center, for kind of plugging me in and keeping me engaged with these organizations, because that has really helped me develop my, I guess, still like develop my CHW career. And I really like the organizations because it has a group of very passionate individuals who are like-minded in the way that we want to promote the CHW model. We want to think about unique ways of, with the Texas Association, we want to think of unique ways to put Texas on the map. I mean, it's already on the map, but
yeah, we are.
for those that didn't know, Texas was the first state to have a formal certification. So thinking of ways to keep Texas in the CHW field.
Just celebrated the 20th year last year, matter of fact, yeah.
Yeah. So things like that. I mean, I know that from conversations with people from other states, a lot of people really look up to Texas and knowing what we're doing. And I feel like it's almost like a duty that we keep pushing for innovation
Yeah.
and collaboration. So I am incoming as treasurer. I just started my position a few weeks ago, which was Katie's former position in it. So I was elected in, and my position as treasurer engages me to, as any treasurer position, be accountable for the finances of the organization and then also manage membership fees. And so, but at the same time, I'm also engaged in committees with the leadership and the board members. So we have upcoming the conference, the second virtual conference for the association. That is really exciting. We had a great turnout last year that I'm really excited to see what the turnout will be this year now that we've had a year to, I feel like, again, word of mouth really has a big power. So hopefully we have more interest and more attendance this year.
What's
And
the
then
date? What's the date? Go ahead and plug it. What's the date?
Oh gosh. Oh gosh. I don't think we have set days, but
Okay,
you will
not
be the
yet.
first
Okay.
one to know.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, hopefully we have somebody else from the association come closer, present on our podcast a little bit closer to the date.
Okay.
And I know Denise Hernandez was recently
Yeah.
featured not too long ago, but there's other members that I think would have really great stories that I think would be great candidates.
Okay, awesome.
Trying to plug them in there.
Awesome. Definitely.
Yeah, but it's tentative to be in September, so that's pretty exciting. And then we're having an event for CHW Day coming up pretty soon, since CHW Day occurs in April. That's something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
And I would really, I would say that our Facebook page is pretty current with all the information, and also our organization website has a lot of the most updated events, and our members do get exclusive access to CEUs. So we host CEU trainings just for them, and that's also a really big perk, since training can be like Zoom trainings can sometimes be sporadic or sometimes fill up really quickly, especially now that they're in high demand.
Mm-hmm.
And with the association of APHA CHW Section, I started off a few years ago as a section counselor. And as I grew more engaged and wanting to take on more of a leadership role, I was elected as governing counselor, and that gives me voting power with APHA to vote on some of the initiatives that they have and to represent our CHW section. And I am also part of membership chair. So if you want to join, I did want to say that there are some options, especially for students and early professionals, to get a discounted rate to attend the conference, and also for the membership fee, which it can get really pricey. I am lucky that Texas A&M University covers my expenses for the conference and membership, but I know that's not the case for everybody. But I working with other committee members and other board members to try to figure out how to make it a little bit more accessible. I did want to say that if you want to be engaged, you don't have to be a member to join a committee. And there's a membership committee, a communication committee, awards committee, and also education and CAP committee, where you can connect with other CHW or CHW allies from different states and just stay connected and in the know of what's going on. So yeah, I would say that if you're trying to stay engaged, joining an organization or an association is the easiest way to still kind of hear conversations outside of your echo chamber and staying plugged in on what's going on, or what are the current issues related to the CHW field.
Girl, you're busy. You are busy. You got a lot going on.
Yeah.
So with that, with having so much going on and balancing everything, Denise, what do you do for self-care? How do you keep it together? How do you keep it balanced? How do you do that?
Well, I try to do my nails, get my eyebrows done. Little things like that. I'm also, what calms me. So if you ever come into my home or into my office, I always have wax warmers, and aromas really calm me. So I have specific scents that I find really peaceful, like lavender or vanilla. So little things like that. But I was thinking the other day, wow, like I haven't really taken a vacation or haven't really left my house. And so finding ways to now leave my house now that it's a little safer. But yeah, it's something I'm still working on, because I think that especially being a young professional, I feel like when I hear about all these CHW leaders who've done so much, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I need to keep up, or like there's a kind of like the pressure to show that you're competent, and that can get overwhelming and tiresome. So it is something that I try to find little ways, but I'm hoping to take a vacation sometime soon to recharge my batteries, and which is something that I think anybody could benefit from, recharging your batteries.
Because it helps not only you, it helps the people around you, because you're better for it. And I always say, we need to be nice to ourselves, be nice to yourself. Self-care is so essential, especially the work that you do, because you deal with a lot of different people, a lot of different communities. And earlier on in my career, I used to take that stuff home with me. And I had to learn that I had to leave it. I had to learn how to kind of separate it, because I would take personal cases. I mean, I would just carry it. So yeah, self-care is so important. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that. And to somebody that says, I don't really think that I have the time, or, it's not a big deal right now. I'm trying to, because you did mention, I'm trying to keep up. I'm trying to do what I need to do now. We know that that can wear on you. So what would you say to them? What message would you send to them?
I would say that your body knows. Your body knows when you're being overworked.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you, especially working from home, and like you have work at home, there isn't that defined barrier, I think, anymore. Your body starts to feel more tired. You don't feel as creative. Like if you don't take a vacation, your body's going to tell you to take a vacation. So
Okay.
you're better off yeah, being in control of when you charge your batteries.
Yeah,
So
listen to your gut. You said that earlier. Listen to your gut. Be authentic to yourself. Yeah, man. So this has been amazing. Your journey is really inspiring. All the different work that you're doing. Where can people learn more about you, the work that you do, or with your organization?
So, to learn more about our organization, myself and our team members, you can look up our website for the National Community Health Worker Training Center. It's nchwtc.tamu.edu for the URL link. And then we're also on Facebook. Facebook has been a great way to kind of promote some of our trainings. So we have a Facebook page for the training center. And yeah, we also sent training announcements through DSHS. So that's also another way to hear about us. But highly recommend.
Also, can you mention the the thing that you guys do on Fridays where you highlight someone, the initiative? Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad you reminded me about that. So I want to give the shout out to my team for coming up with this initiative to recognize CHWs promotoras and the work that they're doing. We know that it's often us who give so much that don't take the time to pat ourselves on the back. So we wanted to pat backs and give kudos. And so we started this initiative that usually every Friday, we share the story of a CHW in English and in Spanish, and we share their journey. And it's really been by word of mouth that we have recommendations of who to engage next. But if you go on our webpage, like, you can see the submission form where you can submit your story and picture, and we will feature you. That is something that we really love doing. I feel like since Snowvid, we've all been a little bit distracted with other things that we had some stories lined up, but we've had some issues connecting or just confirming the text. But it's an initiative that I feel like, like the podcast, like, you give an opportunity to talk about a journey. The posts are intended to do something similar, because there's so much great work that sometimes we give and we don't feel like nobody sees us. And we don't want CHWs or promoters to feel that way, that, we notice, we see the good work, and we want to be supportive of the CHW model and the CHW work. So it's just another avenue and outlet to tell your story. And it's as simple as that, just an opportunity to tell your story.
Awesome. So you guys go and submit, highlight one of your fellow promotora CHWs. And is this for only Texas, or can it be for anybody?
It could be for anybody.
Okay.
We want to keep it as an ongoing initiative, as long as the stories are coming in and it's something that people look forward to. We want to keep it as an ongoing initiative.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Denise. I have enjoyed you today.
Thank you, Tasha. It's been a pleasure to be on your podcast.